Welcome to ASA Central Line, the official podcast series of the American Society of Anesthesiologists, edited by Dr. Adam Stryker.
Hello and welcome to the Central Line podcast. I'm your guest host, Dr. Zach Deutch. Today we have two excellent guests, Dr. Lalitha Sundararaman and Aaron Tebbs, who are going to be joining me. We're going to touch on a topic that impacts all of us eventually, some of us sooner rather than later, which is retiring, or as we have coined the term, hanging up the scrub cap. I'm really looking forward to talking with these two individuals, and thanks to both of them for joining us here today. Let's start off with some introductions. Lalitha, we know you've been on the show before, and of course, I know you well personally. We're very happy to welcome you, and also Dr. Aaron Tebbs, who's here for the first time. It might be good for listeners to understand both of your current situations and why this topic of hanging up the scrub cap is important to you.
Thank you, Dr. Deutch, and a good day to you as well, Dr. Tebbs. Happy to be back with you and our audience. I am an anesthesiologist from India. I was practicing there, came over here, repeated my training, and I'm currently working at a large academic center in Boston. There are many immigrants like me happy in the adopted country, but with family and sometimes emotional ties to their home country. Along with my sister, Dr. Sumitra, I have also started a center in Chennai, India, to deliver equitable basic primary health and pain management services to a swathe of underprivileged patients in the area. And that's kind of been my lifetime ambition, to kind of give back a little. And I have learned a lot from my adopted country in the process, and this has really benefited me. I did not benefit monetarily from the center, but I feel like I'm giving back, and it helps and it benefits my soul. Hence, my retirement plan would have to plan 2 countries and requires careful planning every step of the way.
Thank you, Dr. Sundararaman. It's been a pleasure working with you on this edition of the Monitor and putting together some interesting information that's come out of the Committee on Late Career and Retired Members. I am currently the chair of this committee. I am a cardiac anesthesiologist in private practice for the past 19 years. I'm married. I have 4 children, one still at home. I consider myself in the sort of late mid-career stage. And I became interested in this topic several years back when my wife and I felt it important to move all the way across the country to be closer to our family and aging parents in specific. So I went from being a senior partner in my private practice on the who's who list of the hospital to a junior partner in a who's that list in a new hospital. This major change in my life got me thinking about other significant life events that are coming up. And one of those is retirement. Retirement has consistently been ranked as one of the most stressful, normative life change events, sometimes referred to as a life quake. The interesting thing about the ASA is that we have a very large silver tsunami, much like the rest of the United States. The baby boomers are coming through, and the ASA has, of course, a large cohort of 60-plus age group members, and they are all facing this very large life change event in their near future. So Dr. Sundararaman and I have very similar interest in this topic and very different perspectives. One is a private practice, male anesthesiologist, and others an academic practice, female anesthesiologist, both in our mid to mid-late careers. And what we come up with is some very interesting things to think about as we approach this next step of our lives.
Most of us think about financial issues when we consider retirement, but that really isn't the only thing we should be thinking about, is it? What else should be on our minds when we look towards retirement? Lalitha, I'm going to have you answer that if you don't mind.
Sure. Thank you, Zach. Definitely, financial security with cushioning for contingencies is of importance when considering retirement. Everyone is concerned that if they have health issues or situational changes, there should be an adequate financial buffer. However, it's also of cardinal importance that you prepare others for your retirement. I know this sounds weird when you retire. It is stressful for others as well. For example, your spouse is now going to see you every day at home, and marriages can get strained. Surprisingly, gray divorce, that is, divorce in the age group of 55 to 64, is 50% more common than in those who get married in their 20s and 30s. Keep your family and spouse informed about your retirement plans, be they financial or personal. This is your own No Surprises Act at home. For many of us, all our lives, our job is a large part of what we are and what we do and how we project ourselves. So make personal plans to fill that void which happens after retirement. There is an interesting study that I'd like to mention, which incidentally happens to be the longest running study in the history of the United States, possibly even the world. The study is ongoing and it has been running for 85 years. It is a study of adult development conducted at Harvard Medical School. Now, the study aimed to answer a quintessential question, probably the most important question of all. What makes us happy? Now, this was analyzed in a cohort of people, starting from their 20s and followed on till today. One of the original members is even in their 90s today, and the answer is startling. It's not education, social status, money, power, or even health. It is interpersonal connections. Now, several studies went on to corroborate that people's level of satisfaction with interpersonal relationships at age 50 was even a better predictor of physical health at age 80 than their cholesterol levels were. The end result is that interpersonal connections and your own level of satisfaction is what determines what you are after you retire.
It sounds very interesting. I was actually not aware of that myself. It's a long road to become an anesthesiologist, and as Lalitha pointed out, some people have even had to do it twice. And this job is indeed a big job which can be consuming. And the profession in that way can, for many of us, become our identity. What benefits have we seen for those people that stay involved in the profession? Aaron, I'll have you answer that one, please.
Sure. Thanks for that interesting question. So as you mentioned, in our profession, being a physician is a large part of our identity. We don't say we work in healthcare, but we are physicians. So who are we when we no longer are able to practice medicine? In addition, when we hang up the scrub cap and walk out of the OR for the last time, we are at risk of losing many of our social connections. And as Dr. Sundararaman said with the Harvard Adult Development Study, research has confirmed how important it is to maintain these social connections and professional connections in our life, and retirement is no exception. A critical finding from the Harvard Adult Development Study, and I quote here, the number one challenge people faced in retirement was not being able to replace the social connections that had sustained them at work. Loneliness kills. It's as powerful as smoking or alcoholism.
Okay. ASA's Committee on Late Career and Retired Members, and being the ASA committee, we need to have an acronym. CLCRM was established in 2019. It's been very active. Can we hear about what that committee's been doing, and specifically what that committee has done with the survey that it conducted of retired members? What are some ways that anesthesiologists can stay involved in the profession?
So the Committee on Late Career and Retired Member has been formed in part to help the silver tsunami coming through the ASA, the fastest growing cohort, with the information and the tools to help them during this transitional phase of their career and life. I'd like to start off and talk about a definition of a late career member. So first of all, the working definition for our committee is the 60 plus cohort. Other authors have posed the definition of being 20 years or more in your practice. But for this purpose, we're saying the 60 plus age cohort. And a retired member is defined as someone who no longer receives income from actively practicing anesthesia. So a couple of interesting things. A late career and retired member cohort, when we look at all the cohorts of the ASA, we ask them, how important is the ASA to you? Would you recommend this organization to others? The highest net promoters of the ASA are the late career and retired members, which is a fascinating thing. These are the people who have been there the longest. They've seen, the goods and the bads and the ups and the downs of this organization, and they're the ones that are the highest promoters of the ASA. So we asked retired members of the ASA in the 2019 retired members survey, what do you want from the ASA as you are in retirement? And this is what they said. They said specifically, we want educational opportunities to learn about things that are specific for us in our phase of late career and retired member. We want opportunities to mentor the next generation. We want the opportunity to serve and give back to the ASA. We want to have a voice in the ASA. And we want to be able to advocate at the state and national level. And very importantly, we want to maintain our connections with our colleagues. Okay, so how do we facilitate this? This is what the Committee on Late Career and Retired Members has been focused on. So what have we done? So we have, first of all, focused on the educational pieces. At the ASA, in problem-based learning discussions, panels, interactive tutorial sessions. We've published things now in the Monitor, and we're working in the podcast angle today. We basically put together a group of really, in my opinion, the best late career and retired anesthesiologists to sit on this committee. And we've pooled the wisdom and experience of these people to try to answer some of these questions. And many of the annual meeting offerings have been a combination of these members of the committee answering the questions that the retired members were asking in the retired member survey done in 2019. For example, problem-based learning discussions titled things like, I'm happy, I'm retired, or a panel, retirement, ready, set, go, or professional contributions, I'm retired, now what? And then some interactive tutorials. Now, very interestingly, these tutorials have all sold out the last 2 years, and the problem-based learning discussion as well. And the panels have been very well attended. Approximately 17% of our attendees at the annual meeting are late career and retired members, and they're asking for more and more of this educational information. So that's one thing we've really focused on. Now, another thing that we've looked at is the definition of what a retired member is. And when we looked at this, we found that there was an age discriminator that said you had to be over a certain age to be a retired member. And we said, that's not who we are anymore. That may have fit 20 years ago, but today we have retired members of all ages. And we found a better definition. And we were able to get the bylaws changed to reflect that. The next thing we did, and this is an article by Dr. Berry, and he talked about the eligibility for FASA being opened up to all qualified members. Previously, retired members were excluded from this. I don't think because anyone wanted to exclude retired members, but they just weren't considered when the FASA program was set up. In regards to mentorship, this is a thing that has kind of spun off of the Committee on Late Career and Retired Members into another ad hoc committee, and Dr. Lisa Solomon is chairing that. And I think Dr. Sundararaman sits on that committee as well about how we can mentor the next generation better. And finally, in terms of getting a better voice for our retired members, one thing we've done in this committee is to designate retired members to sit on specific committees that we feel are important, thus giving a better voice of retired members within the ASA. And then finally, look for in future annual meetings some late career and retired member meetups. So there'll be things like perhaps having coffee together with people in your age group, in your stage of your career, and a place to sit and talk and connect with other people that are going through the same thing that you're going through. And no surprise, there are a lot of people in the ASA that are looking at retirement right now. It's termed the silver tsunami for a reason, and the ASA is no exception to that.
That's an excellent recap of ASA-related activities, especially that committee work, and I appreciate that. Moving on to a sort of a broader approach to this topic, many people have sort of a perception about retirement that the way you start it is the way you finish it. But like most things in life, it evolves. Can we hear a little bit about the stages that occur in retirement and understand why thinking about those stages and that evolution is important? And Lalitha, I'm going to have you answer this, please.
Thanks, Zach. Retirement can almost be explained in simple terms as go, slow go, and no go. I know it sounds pediatric, but it actually covers everything. Our lives are ruled by our jobs for a large part. In our early and mid-career, we're constantly trying to gain experience, do more cases, maybe publish more, and definitely try to earn more for the family while raising a family. We're always on the go, wishing we had octopus hands. But then, there comes a time when our body tells us to slow down, when our kids need us less, and we have more time to focus on what's important to us. and that would be the slow go stage. The slow go goes on, and sometimes we also have people doing locum jobs in this interval to kind of give their bodies some time to adjust while still doing our jobs. Till we reach a point when doing long cases is no longer enticing due to the associated physicality and emotional tiredness. This is accompanied by financial and interpersonal security, and most importantly, emotional contentment. It has reached no-go. When that no-go stage is attained, when you feel that you have attained all that you have to attain, and you look forward to what's ahead, that is a no-go stage. That's when retirement happens.
Interesting perspective. I had never thought of it that way, but it seems very logical. So there's kind of food for thought for all of us, no matter what stage we are in our careers. We talked a little bit when we were discussing the committee activity from CLCRM about mentorship. It's been described clearly that this cohort of late career anesthesiologists and retired anesthesiologists can play an important role in mentoring the next generation of practitioners. Can you talk about the value of mentorship, not just from the perspective of the mentee, but what the mentors themselves get out of it? And Lalitha, I'm going to stick with you for this one.
For a mentor-mentee relationship to work, they should be well matched. And that is of cardinal importance. Many late career and retired anesthesiologists have been through the grind and have a variety of experiences and talents that match what the mentees are looking to get. The knowledge that comes from real-world experience is invaluable and is what many mentees seek when they're attempting to navigate the same hurdles. What do you do when your surgical colleagues don't listen to you because you're young? Your mentor can advise you and say, "Don't worry, I got this. I'll tell you how we handle this." What do you do when your H-1 visa was rejected because your international medical school forgot to send in their response in a timely fashion? If you have a matched mentor, you will get the answer, "Don't worry, I got this. I'll tell you what to do." The wealth of knowledge and experience is a treasure trove and invaluable for the person who taps it. And that's why it's so important that mentor and mentee matching be really good. Now, one of the spin-offs which happened from the late career and retired members committee was the ad hoc committee on mentorship. The ASA has actually started a mentorship program wherein you can actually log in into the website and you can match your mentor and mentee. You can actually log in, put in all your mentor details, and then a mentee can also create a profile and log in and put in their details. And then the website matches both the mentor and mentee. And when there is such a matching which happens, you're just made for each other. And this is like our online version of maybe a dating app, but this is a marriage which is really made in heaven because both parties will benefit from it. And you might ask, how does a mentor benefit from it? Well, all the experience which the mentor has had in his life, he's now able to pass on to another person and encourage this person to actually step forward using his experiences. And that gives a level of satisfaction which nothing else can. When you know that somebody else has benefited from your teaching and your experiences and your real world experiences, it kind of benefits the soul. And the other way that many mentors can help is by also teaching other aspects of life which they've gone through, which are like how to manage small kids, when you have a really busy life and we're trying to go ahead in private practice. All these are advice which you given as the mentor in the ASA ad hoc mentorship matching program. And I think therefore it is a mutual benefit, well thought out program by the ASA.
Okay, so moving on from mentorship and thinking about another way we can leverage the experience and wisdom of people in late career and retired is in the advocacy realm. So this is obviously an area where all hands need to be on deck. We need any voices we can get that are knowledgeable, experienced, and able to represent us well. So Aaron, I'm going to ask you, can you talk a little bit about the role that late career and retired anesthesiologists play in advocacy and maybe give a little encouragement for people that have kind of been sitting on the sideline to get involved?
Yeah, I'd be delighted to address that. Continuing along the lines of mentorship, my mentors in ASA in Maine, where I've practiced the majority of my career, I connected with them through my state society. And then they encouraged me to get involved. And I went with them at their encouragement to the ASA Legislative Conference, which is every year in May. And I sat by their side while we met with our senators and our representatives on the state and national level. And we were able to tell them why physician anesthesiologists are so important in improving patient safety and increasing quality of care. And it occurs to me that there is no better qualified person to speak to this than someone who has been in practice for 20 or 30 plus years. They have seen how important that the role of physician anesthesiologist plays in the OR for patient safety. And there's no other group of people who have a better depth of experience, a pool of connections, social and professional, and also have the time and resources to be able to go to their state capital or go to the national capital to promote our specialty and patient safety. So again, I would point out that the late career and retired members have the highest net promoter score of any cohort in the ASA. And so some specific ways to advocate for people who may have been on the sidelines, I would encourage the same way that I walked down that pathway. Go to your state society, get involved, introduce yourself to leadership, tell them you want to be engaged. I guarantee they will be delighted to see you and love to get you plugged in. Go to the ASA Legislative Conference. Speak with your senators and representatives. It's amazing when you have a chance to talk to them and get to sit with them face to face and realize they're real living people whose family and even themselves have had anesthetics. They understand and they get that this is an important issue. So the other thing I would encourage our late career and retired members to do is think about in your life all of the social connections that you've made. Some of them I suspect have been with national and state leaders. Reach out to these people, have a connection with them, let them know who you are, the importance of your specialty. Remember, the time to prepare for a flood is before it starts raining. The next time we run into political advocacy challenges, if you've got those relationships, they will reach out to you to ask questions. And finally, if you're an ambitious sort, you can run for a political office. There's nothing better than having a physician in political leadership to help with one of the largest budget line items, which is always healthcare.
Well, I think that's well said. And what's interesting is, as you were talking, I was thinking about what Jay Epstein, who's kind of our Florida advocacy and legislative guru for many years, had said. When you meet with legislators and you meet with health aides and legislative aides, you're definitely the expert in the room. And so don't be intimidated because they need your knowledge to understand. And I think who better to impart that knowledge than people that have been in clinical practice for 25, 30, 35 years and are veterans of all sorts of clinical, political, economic, and social situations. So very well said. And it's nice to see that group of people would play a very strong role in terms of, pushing the future of our specialty forward. We're coming to the end here, but I have one last question for both of you. And we'll start with Aaron and then we'll go to Lalitha. Both of you worked on this issue, and I'm just wondering what might have surprised you or made you think differently about hanging up the scrub cap in retirement. Anything particular that stands out that you want to share with our listeners while we have a moment?
Yes, I would point out that retirement is a relatively recent phenomenon. I hadn't considered this, but our great-grandfathers and mothers, retirement was not even in their vocabulary. So this is really a unique thing in human history, and it requires some unique consideration and preparation. Just like we plan our anesthetics, we have to plan for one of the most stressful normative life change events that we will face, which is retirement. The Committee on Late Career and Retired Members is working hard to support and meet this fastest growing cohort of the ASA. And this is the cohort that has built the ASA that we know it today. These late career and retired members have this tremendous clinical, administrative, research, leadership, and life experience. And I personally have been impacted greatly with being around these committee members, working on these projects together, on presentations, and their mentorship to me. I've gained from their hard-won wisdom that comes from a life of service in medicine. And it's my opinion that the ASA needs this experience and wisdom to be passed down to the next generation of ASA leaders. And fortunate for us, the late career and retirement members, they want to engage, they want to mentor and share their wisdom with us. So the other thing that really struck me as I looked at this is that I am about 2,900 weeks into my 4,000 weeks, if I'm lucky, on this planet. And I am not immune to aging and retirement. Again, if I'm lucky enough, I will face this event. And it's important for me to plan for it. So another important finding from the Harvard Adult Development Study, and I would encourage everyone to look at that. It's really got some very interesting points, is that people tend to become happier as they age. And which some researchers attribute this increased happiness to an awareness of our finitude or our impermanence. This awareness or mindfulness may allow us to more fully enjoy all the positive things in our life right here, right now, in the present moment. So there's strong evidence supporting the ideal that the best is yet to come.
And Lalitha, you get the chance for your last comments here. I get you the last word, literally and figuratively.
Well, thanks, Zach. I think retirement has to be on everyone's threshold. You have to keep it at the back of your mind because it creeps up on you when you're inadequately prepared. It takes sometimes many years, many decades to plan for it properly because of life-changing events, not only in your own life, but in those of your loved ones, which might affect your own decision to retire and when and how. And hence, you often end up procrastinating it. And sometimes along the way, you take physical, emotional hits, and at the end, it becomes a rocky course. So just like you planned for your entry into medicine, plan for your exit as well. Give yourself time to plan for a proper exit, and the path thereon will be much smoother and more satisfying.
Well, thank you both for being with us tonight. It's really been a nice treat to have two very knowledgeable and articulate interviewees here who can kind of share their wisdom. And I think that reading this issue will be of great interest, certainly to me and to other ASA members as well. So thank you all for joining us on the Central Line podcast. And remember, for extra information or background, you can always go to asamonitor.org. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Dr. Tebbs.
It was a pleasure, Dr. Deutch, Dr. Sundararaman. Thank you.
Be part of the solution. Connect with legislators about important issues facing the specialty. Join the ASA Grassroots Network at asahq.org/grassroots. Subscribe to Central Line today, wherever you get your podcasts, or visit asahq.org/podcasts for more.